Kia ora. Oh,
fantastic.
thank you very much. Kia ora,
great.
tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome, even though the temperature's not warm, a very warm welcome in heart, mind and spirit to your special event. My name is Zella, and I'm just going to explain to our special visitors who are not from Aotearoa to explain what you're going to be part of. Oh, I thought it was music. Am I not now? Ka pai, thank you. All right, so what we started with was the sound of the conch, which hails that you as special visitors are here for your special welcome. As part of a welcome, imagine yourselves as one group coming on a waka, arriving into our homelands. On arrival, you will be greeted with the karanga as you're standing outside the village, the call of welcome. The karanga acknowledges who you are by inviting you into our village. We then follow that with the chants of welcome. After the chant, our speaker will do a welcome speech to you all in our own native language. We acknowledge those who have gone on, including your own ancestors. We acknowledge our Maori forces, our mountains, our rivers, our harbours, and then we acknowledge you, our visitors. Each of the speeches we offer, and in fact there'll only be one speech from our side, is then embellished with a waiata or a song. The waiata is very relevant to these shores, to this whenua, to the harbour that you are situated nearby. And it's a song that is very much Ngāti Whātua, or our local tribe here in central Auckland. Following that, we will have Paul and here who are representing you all in the welcome. You will hear their reply karanga, and your special VIP visitors will also thank the speaker and the group for the welcome. And they too will also offer a waiata to embellish the speaker's words, Paul's words. We always conclude the welcome with the hongi. Now the hongi is rather unusual. It is the pressing of the noses, which symbolises the breath of the visitors, you and our home people are now one with the spirit of the land. And that concludes the formal part of the welcome or the pōhiri. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you to our whānau group Raukura, and we have just concluded our formal welcome to you this morning. Kia ora everyone, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Now, just to get you guys all warmed up as well, we would like to introduce and share with you 2 items, especially for those of you who are not from our beautiful islands of Aotearoa. The first one is a combined action song and poi dance. So we're going to invite whānau Raukura here to demonstrate not only that, but also the poi. The poi is one of our musical instruments where we can use percussion sounds and beats to animate and to bring to life ngā poi. We will also conclude with te haka. Now, a haka is the most famous and aggressive of our dances, where you will see the protruding tongue, the bulging of the eyes, which are acts of aggression used in times of battle to intimidate and frighten the enemy. And the power of the haka is measured by the strength that our warriors and women put into it. And if a very powerful haka took place, the enemy would retreat, which meant the haka on its own had already won the battle. So our 2 items for you, our waiata āringa me ngā poi and our haka. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our part of your program. So please enjoy your stay and your conference. But before we go, remember to use our favourite word, which is kia ora. Now it can mean hello. Thank you. Well done or even excellent. So whānau, enjoy your day. Kia ora tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora. Welcome everybody to the one and only New Zealand eLearnz conference. Congratulations to every single one of you for making the time to get outside your comfort zone to attend this magnificent conference. This Kia ora conference, if I take the excellent slant on that. My name is Clinton Jones. I am the Green Gorilla. I am also your MC. I am also learning every day to be a better salesperson, a better MC, a better communicator, and better technically, which is why I am here today, because I get such a buzz from this conference. It is, after all, the cutting edge of e-learning. It is like-minded people coming together to learn and share the latest in the industry, an industry which is developing at a great rate of knots. You'll get it, it's coming. Speaking of cutting edge, we are blessed today with some outstanding sponsors. Our platinum sponsor is Kineo, whom we thank a great deal and whom also have a display and staff here to talk to you about what they do best at the back of the room. We also have our gold sponsors, Optimism, Synapsis and Bloom Recruitment, also set up at the rear of the room to help you and introduce you to what they do the best. Our silver sponsor, Kanuka, is also there, and we also have Workbright, who have a display at the rear of the room. Firstly, some housekeeping. If there is an emergency, a siren will sound, and we are to leave the room via the entrance that we came in by and assemble outside the building. The toilets are located. Sponsors are also all set up at the rear of the room, and this is a unique conference in that electronic devices are welcome. Welcome. So you don't have to turn them off. You don't have to get rid of them. You don't have to not be seen using them. But you do have to have them on silence, please, as a courtesy to our speakers and our presenters today. Now, in order to do that, you'll need the Wi-Fi code. For a small fee, the code is, or the sort of location is Maritime Boardroom, and the code for you today, and this is your first test on how to spell this word. The code or the password is Anchorage. There's an H in there, I can tell you. So make sure you put it in the right place, but the password is Anchorage, so you can get hooked up to do what eLearn professionals do best. We also have some competitions running throughout the conference. If you refer to your conference bag, you'll see that you have a mate somewhere in the room. I'm the 5 of clubs. You lucky 5 of clubs person I am your mate, your partner. You will also see that there is a virtual reality box located close by, and that is explained on the Bloom Recruitment, how to download the app and become virtually real. So have a look at that. There's plenty of people in the room to help you through that. And you could also keep calm and win a tiara. Not really. You could win an iPad mini by just downloading the app and filling in the survey each day. There will be 3 iPad minis given away during the conference. So that's absolutely magnificent and a huge opportunity for you. There's also a prize, or one of those iPad minis is also going to be given away for the best conference photo. So make sure that you take plenty of photos and upload those onto the Facebook page. So finding your twin. Opportunity Knocks is an opportunity for you to advertise what you do. There's an opportunity board located at the back of the room. So fill that out, get advertising. There's also an opportunity at the end of today to get up and speak for 30 seconds about what it is you do and why it's so marvelous. There are competitions at the back of the room to find the most digitally literate at this conference. So make sure that you go to the trust stand and test your skills and participate in the University of Auckland eLearning survey online. So you could win an annual New Zealand Learning and Development Association membership. Don't forget our sponsors. Have a great time. Congratulations for being here. It is indeed a marvelous opportunity for you to learn and develop, but to interact. So don't miss the opportunity to talk to other delegates, to talk to the presenters, to get in the face of what's going on here so that you can take that back to your workplaces so you can learn new things at this conference. I was sitting there during the potpourri, which I thought was pretty amazing. And I'd like to thank Paul and the Haka Nation for a spirited welcome to this conference. On the shores of the sparkling Waitemata this morning, I was sitting over here looking out at this beautiful haze over the sparkling gem, which is the jewel in the crown of Auckland, the city of sails, of which I am very proud. I look out there and I see the Rainbow Warrior, I see rigging, and I imagined a waka coming in through the haze. And I thought to myself, we are blessed in this country to have such a spiritual culture and to be able to share that with each other. I wish, in a lot of ways, that my own family had some sort of welcome like that for guests, or that we were culturally more aware of people coming to visit us and spending time with us. And it made me very proud to be an Aucklander, but also a New Zealander, and to have that heritage. And I thank Paul and the Haka Nation for that. What a great way to start a conference on the shores of the beautiful, sparkling Waitemata Harbour. Our first speaker, because it's not about me, is Nigel Payne, who is the Managing Director of nigelpayne.com Limited. Nigel has been involved in corporate learning for over 20 years. One of his huge challenges was to take on the BBC and build a program for 6,000 staff. Something that he did, and as a result of, went into business for himself, doing the same thing for others by creating or promoting creativity, innovation, and values-based leadership training. Nigel has written a book. He has some of those books here with him. The book is entitled The Learning Challenge, and he'll talk a little bit about that. He has also been given a Maisie Learning Thought Leader Award, and he's been a Maisie Fellow ever since he was given that award. And in 2012, he was given the Colin Corder Award for Outstanding Achievement in Corporate Learning. Something you don't know or may not know about Nigel is that he has a TV program. He's a rock star. He's on LNTV monthly. He edits and presents a program for 1 hour. And most importantly, Nigel is a football fan, and he follows West Ham FC for his sins. They're not doing too bad since they got that Kiwi bloke on board, but I would like you to warmly assist me to welcome your first speaker this morning, Mr. Nigel Payne.
I tell you what though, before I get going, you've been sitting there for half an hour. If you've got your cards, could you find your playing cards and hold them up? Go find the person with your matching card and tell them why you're here. What are you trying to get out of this conference? Just spend 5 minutes doing that. Thank you. Good to see you.
I think we might be. We're right on the 9 o'clock.
Perfect. So, yeah. So I will definitely finish by whenever you want me to.
So you're going to have a couple of little breaks, and I'll let you know when there's 10 to go.
Has anyone found their partner? Has anyone? Good. Okay. If you find it hard to find your partner, just find someone nearby. You've done good. Well done. Okay. Do you want to come back? Kia ora. Come back. I have no idea. It's the honest truth. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. You see how much better it feels when you stand. Even when you've been sitting for 20 minutes, just the process of standing up really re-energizes your brain. So I'm going to stop every 20 minutes and give you a chance to talk and ask questions or whatever you like. So I will portion up what I'm going to say to you this morning. I think that will be helpful, and it will stop you feeling dozier and dozier and dozier as you go through the day. So at least you'll finish at 10 o'clock with some energy, I sincerely hope. I've got lots of energy. I'm standing up here all the time. I want you to have lots of energy as well. So can we switch to the screens, please? That's great. Thank you very much. Now, I'm probably going to offend at least half the audience with what I tell you next, and I apologize for that. But the other half who weren't offended, the next thing I say will probably offend those, but never mind. Now, when I was a child, I had a joke. I remember only one joke from my entire childhood. And we told this joke to each other time and time and time again. And we thought it was hysterically funny. It's not. But I'll tell you the joke anyway. The joke was, we go up to each other and say, do you know how the Fakawi tribe got its name? And we'd say, no. How did the Fakawi tribe get its name? Well, (5'2". What is that? 1.70 meters. The Fakawi tribe were only 5'2", but they lived in the long grass that was 5'6". So every so often they'd walk through the grass, they'd leap in the air and go, "Where the fuck are we?" And we thought this was really, really funny. And in some ways, this is what we do with technology. What I'm trying to do is leap up, look around, and tell you where we are. I'll do my best to do that. But also, there's a little salutary tale. This is where I offend the other half. In my hotel room, there are lots of little boxes, and they all say, luxury Manuka soap. It's very nice, smells of honey. Next to that is my luxury Manuka shampoo, luxury Manuka conditioner, luxury Manuka body lotion. And then next to those is another box, and it says, luxury Manuka sanitary bag. I thought, wow, this must be something really special. So I opened up my box to see my luxury Manuka sanitary bag, and guess what it is? Just a cheap old plastic bag. Nothing luxury, nothing special at all. So I'll try to mind my language. I don't want to do the wow, so fantastic, amazing, truly fantastic, wonderful, when it's not. So I'll try to keep a measure and not fall into the luxury Manuka trap. You know, I'll leave this here for anybody who thinks it's important. Okay, start with where we're going. Now, does anyone recognize this man? So having offended you, I'm going to depress you. Do you know this, guys? He's a serial killer. He's called Ted Kaczynski. Do you remember him? The Unabomber. Does anyone remember the Unabomber? From 1978 to 1995, he terrorized America. He killed 3 people with his bombs, and he seriously injured 23. So he wasn't a mass murderer, but he did try and blow up a plane. He's called the Unabomber because it stood for Universities and Airline Bomber, which was the FBI nickname for him. And basically, this guy was against technology. Essentially, he believed that our technological society was destroying the world completely. And he had to take a stand against technology. So that's why he went for really well-known academics who were in biotechnology, high technology fields. The first person he killed was actually an owner of a computer store in San Francisco. Poor guy, was left outside his door. He picked this thing up and the bomb blew up. And he went for academics and he went for airlines, evil symbols of technology. So, what is this all about? Well, he published a manifesto, a 50-page manifesto called A Revolution Against Technology. And he wanted to show how we could all stop technology in its tracks. And he got caught because he wanted the New York Times to publish this manifesto. And the FBI went on for months. They argued, because he said, if you publish my manifesto, I won't do any more bombing. And the FBI said, but that's giving in to terrorism, and we can't do it, and then we can, and we can. Finally, the New York Times published this 50-page manifesto. And his brother read it and said, I know who's written this. It's Ted. And he went to the FBI and said, I know who the bomber is. It's my brother, Ted. I know that writing style. And the FBI said, no, we've profiled the guy. He's an airline mechanic, and it's no way it's your brother. And they spent 3 months arguing amongst themselves. Finally, they went with Paul, the brother, and he lived in a little shack in the middle of Montana. And they got into the shack, and there was all the evidence you could ever want. The guys, he pleaded guilty on a plea bargaining, so he's in prison for the rest of his life. He's been there since 1998. So, right, that's the story of the Unabomber. Why am I telling you this story? Why am I depressing you? I'm telling it to you for the simple fact. I want you just to think about the world. Now, the Unabomber was an academic. He went to Harvard at 16. He had a PhD by 22. He was a brilliant mathematician. His PhD thesis was so complicated that the chairman of his doctoral panel said he couldn't understand a word of it. And there were only 5 people in the world who could apparently understand his PhD thesis. The guy was a prodigy. And he published academic articles. Now, how long do you think the Unabomber would have lasted in this day and age? As soon as he wrote a letter, it would have been entered into a database and looked for matching patterns. Every article that he wrote as an undergraduate and a postgraduate and as a lecturer would have been in that database. They would have tracked him down the minute he put pen to paper, because he had a very distinct writing style, very pedantic and pompous. How they thought an airline mechanic would write in the way that he did. He's clearly academic and clearly well-educated. And yet he lasted 20 years. Why? Because the world since then has changed. Nothing he published was in a database. We didn't do databases in that way. We had this is virtually pre-internet. There was no Google. There was no way in which those traces that he left could be picked up. Those weak signals could be amplified. Now, you are sitting in this room today, and every single one of you is leaching data out there. You don't even have to do anything. Just the fact your phone is on, you're leaching data, your location data. You're leaching data about what you like, what you don't like. Every tweet, every photograph, everything you share goes into this amazing cloud, and it tells us something about you. It tells us a lot about you, some of which is exploited for advertising purposes. Some of it is very helpful. We think you'd like that. We know you like this kind of thing. Some of it is more sinister, trying to track you down and sell you things you don't really want. But mostly, we are connected and we can't escape it. Even the Unabomber in his hut in Montana now would be connected. It would be almost impossible to not leave a trail in this world. Almost impossible. You'd have to destroy everything electronic. You couldn't use an ATM. You couldn't buy a ticket anywhere. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. The world has moved on massively since the Unabomber. And somehow, it's not a revelation. I'm not saying anything you don't know. But what I'm saying is incredibly powerful. And it's almost like it's crept on us insidiously. Now the world has massively changed in technology. Massively changed. And we know nothing about it. And we've allowed it to happen. And I don't think there's anything we can do to roll it back. Now, I think there's a lot of good, powerful good that can come out of that, but we need to recognize it. And if we're in e-learning, we need to wake up and recognize it in e-learning. Technology is not destiny, we shape our destiny. And that's true, and I want you to remember that. And I'm sick of talking to people going, oh, we're an Oracle house, we have to use all this crap that Oracle, we have to use, oh, we're a SAP, we have to use all this, oh, our IT people want this, Get over it. You're never going to fight IT, you're never going to beat SAP, accept what they give you, accept the dice and do amazing things. There is nothing stopping you doing amazing things, apart from, in some ways, not recognizing the way that world is changing and not leveraging it like every other bugger is doing out there. How many algorithms do you use? How much do you know about your people in the organizations you're working for? Other people know a huge amount. You should know a huge amount as well. What they're saying is that this is stunningly important, the second machine age, and we have to wake up and work out where it's leading us. And we're at the beginning of it. We're not the end of it, we're at the beginning of that machine age, of increasing power. And we end up with companies like Facebook. Facebook, is there 1 billion people on Facebook? Something like that. Every single homepage on Facebook is unique. Every single homepage. Did I put my homepage together? No. I didn't do that. Facebook did it. Did someone sit there and say, I wonder what he likes? No, of course not. It's an algorithm. They look at all the things that I look at, the people I connect with most, and they give me my homepage. I don't know when this was. It would be totally different now. Now, if Facebook can do one size fits one, increasingly, that's what's going to be expected of you. I think the days of generic e-learning are dying. If in our daily lives, we expect personalization, we expect it just for us, we expect it to work for us, we don't want to come into the workplace and be one of 5,000. And when you've got companies that pour software programs out all over the world, one of 5 million, we want it tailored to us increasingly. For me, what I need now, not next month, personalized, individualized. And the way we do that is quite simply by using the same kind of techniques and the same kinds of technologies, but maybe not at the same expense, that places like Google, places like Facebook use, places like Amazon use. It is not complex technology, but it's recognizing that it's important and it's recognizing what people want. Because maybe not for the first time, but certainly for the first time in a long time, the home, your personal life, is a technology-rich, incredibly powerful experience. And often your work life is a dreary, boring, can't do it, lockdown, shut down, slow, horrible to work environment. The personal use of IT is 5 times more richer, 5 times more powerful than most of the corporate IT experience, which is still focused on what you can't do rather than what you can do. But I think we're close to a tipping point. They say that bring your own device will be in 80% of companies by 2018. 80% of companies. It's in at least 60% in the US, everywhere you go. People want to use their phones, their iPads, their own, and often their own laptops. They don't want to be told that they've got to use some crappy 5-year-old Dell when they've got a brand new MacBook sitting at home, for example. They want to use that. And you've got to move and facilitate and work with that. And you hear it rarely, but you still hear people say, yeah, but we can't really do it on a phone or an iPad because we use Flash. Get over it. No one wants to use Flash anymore. People would rather not have Flash and have it on their phone. And if you define your whole identity as a developer of software based on some technology, which is going to die pretty soon anyway, I think, then you're making huge errors. What you've got to say is, what do people want? How can we give it to them? And how can we make it completely personalized and shaped to them and their needs? Because this world is so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous that people want certainty, and they want focus, and they want comfort, and they get that from personalized technology. Every iPhone in the world is probably unique because of the apps that people put on it. No one in the world will be crazy enough to have some of the apps that I have on my iPhone. And I will walk around this room and I guarantee that every single person will have an app that I've never heard of that they think is going to change their life or has changed their life. I don't know. And we'll have some common apps. But essentially, we personalize those devices quite consciously and quite deliberately. And it's becoming more personal, not less personal. And yet we deliver material, learning material, that wouldn't know personal if it came and sat on its head. We deliver generic, we deliver impersonal, and we deliver, therefore, a much worse experience than people expect, and increasingly, than people will demand. So this network society is inescapable, and it has great strength. It's going to change the way we all work. It's going to change organizations forever. And all of these connections are mostly technology enabled. We saw a bit of networking that isn't technology enabled. It was playing card enabled. But mostly it's technology that is enabled across time and space using technology. And I think the challenge for the whole e-learning industry is to jump in the middle of that and not be separate from it. There are big companies now, like BP, that have abandoned working with e-learning developers, and they're working with app developers who know nothing about learning, but know a hell of a lot about coming to solve complex problems and know about personalization and making things look good and making them exciting. And BP can put in the learning. They got increasingly frustrated with e-learning developers who don't do what they want and give them the same old, same old. This is the template, this is the model. They want something that is different, that works much more in the way that we're used to it working on all of our devices in our little connected world. And I'm going to go on and show you some things that are going to change that world and help you. This is, you've got these things. Someone looked into it and said, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't work because it needs a phone. This bit of cardboard is 3%. 97% is the phone. It is simply a device for focusing the two screens that the software gives you to create a stereoscopic reality. Can we try and switch to this? And this could be a disaster. And we have a look? Can we do it? Oh, there we go. Now, I'm going to look through this and see if I can play. And I'm going to pass it to someone so to prove that it's way more exciting looking through a stereoscopic device. Greetings, human. This is a trip inside the brain, in the neurology of the brain. So you're going through brain cells, you're exploring, and they're producing one at the moment. It's looking inside cells. Now, if I was a learner, now please nod when you're ready to begin. Here we go. Please stay relaxed. Here we go. We're starting to go into the brain, and I can go 360 degrees around. Here we go. And we start to see, can you see those? Amazing. So this is beautiful 3D. We're looking for bogus cells, bad cells, and we're going to try neurons, and we're going to try and destroy them. This is all about an exploration. Can you see that? Do you want someone to want to have a look at it? Can someone come to the front? You have to be on. Have a go. Do it. So turn around and probably face the audience. It'd be better so we can see more. What is that like? Wow, amazing. See, you're shooting. You've got to shoot the red ones. That's it. Go for it. Oh! There we go. Get it. Hold in there. Yes! You're killing bad neurons. Now, it's okay, isn't it? Now, if you imagine you had stereo sound in, and you begin to get a completely immersive experience. Now, this is a kind of mock-up demo. Thank you very much. This is a mock-up demo. But when it starts to do things like explore cell biology, how would you rather learn cell biology? Looking at a textbook that does diagrams, or going inside a cell and walking around the cell and having a look at what's going on? Is there anyone in the room who said, no, textbook is definitely, undoubted. What 3D virtual reality? What a load of nonsense. Give me a book any day. This stuff is going to take over the world. Not this year, maybe, but next year. Oculus Rift, which has been bought by Facebook for $1 billion when they only had a kind of mock-up, is launching next year. And we will see stereophonic, HD, amazing software. Now, guess what? The first stuff is going to be games. Second stuff is going to be education and learning. It's going to be huge. I bet you. I bet you. You can get in there. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, that's just really unfair. Just let me show you. So if we can go back to the screen. But I just took a couple of... I took a couple of stills just in case this thing didn't work. It did. And I thought, how can I tell people that virtual reality, 3D, 360-degree photography, how can you do that? It's really expensive. Oh, no, it's not. Look, Sphericam will put VR filmmaking within anyone's reach. A couple of $100, you get 360-degree filming. So you can begin to make stuff yourself that will give you the 360 immersive reality. So it's not far off. And I think it will blow people's minds, because one of the things that most people say about great learning is it blew their minds. either through its intellectual stimulation, the way that it challenged them, the way that it made their lives better and different. And when you look at your stuff that I see thousands of hours of e-learning. A lot of it doesn't excite me, doesn't blow my mind, and looks pretty okay. Okay is not good enough in the world where you can get this kind of stuff very, very cheaply. Next thing, wearables. I've got an Apple Watch on. That's my Apple Watch. And you think, well, what, you know, it's a watch, for goodness sake. Penn State is looking at turning it into a learning tool. How can a watch be a learning tool? It does not mean you sit there reading e-learning. Oh, that's good. Touch. Oh, that. Oh, yeah, right. You're not going to be doing stuff on your wrist. But what it's got, which I think is really quite exciting, is a haptic sensor. It taps you, taps your wrist. Doesn't make a noise. It just taps your wrist. And all wearables are interesting on the Apple Watch. But I think wearables will become much, much bigger and potential learning tools. Already, a company's working on a leadership program using Can you imagine going through a room and it stops and points to someone and say, talk to that person. You haven't spoken to that person. You can encourage positive behavior through your watch. For example, it's got my credit cards on there. I can pay, just hold my watch near a machine. I can pay my bills. It's already got, that's my boarding card when I flew from Philadelphia to Heathrow on Friday night. And it tells me to stand up every hour. It encourages me to stand up for 12 hours for 1 minute. Now, who the hell matter? What does it matter standing up for 12 minutes a day? Well, according to the research, that's going to extend my life by an average of 8 years, just by standing up more regularly. And they say in California now that sitting is the new smoking. What, you sit? Oh my God, how much do you sit a day? Oh, you've got to give that up. You just got to give that up. You know, everyone's got those desks that move up and down so you can stand and work and sit and work. People walk around the office all the time. They take all their phone calls standing up. You wouldn't believe the behavior change. It's not, Apple hasn't done that, but it's part of it. And when I've done it, it gives me a little reward. You've reached your stand-up goal. I go, whoa, that's amazing, isn't it? I'm so thrilled and excited. And it sends me a little medal, which so far are kind of three-dimensional cubes that twist around on my watch. Not quite what I might have expected as a great reward, but nevertheless, you know, $1 iTunes voucher would be much more of a reward, but they don't give you that. But anyway, what it's doing is subtly, slowly modifying my behavior, creating new habits for me. What is learning? Learning is changing your behavior to create new habits for you. It's obvious that those two things have to come together. You want people to do things differently, and therefore you've got to reward them when they do things differently, and you've got to help them towards the new behavior. Telling them is no good. They can know something, doesn't make a damn bit of difference. They can do something, doesn't make much of a difference. But when they are something, when it's being behavior, then you look like you've got some success. And so much of learning is still about learn a bit, repeat it, learn a bit, repeat it. We're not much past the 19th century. And learn a bit, repeat it, congratulations, you finished, forget it. That's the corollary. And how much compliance is all about instant learning in order to do instant forgetting. And in the US, they call a whole bunch of senior bank executives. Kids could do it really, really quickly because they've got very, very good short-term memories and they're smart. So these kids will rattle through on their parents' login, succeed, and then the parent will go into work next day and say, yeah, oh, God, I was up till 3 in the morning doing it, but I've done it. And did it make much difference to their behavior either way? Probably not. And did all of the compliance in banking save the banking industry? Certainly not. Next thing, iBeacons. Anyone catch? Oh, well done. Over this one. Ready? Well done. iBeacons. iBeacons are little devices. I've put one of those and one of those in the room They are near-field sensors. They just put a very weak Bluetooth signal. They last about 2 years without charging them. And essentially, as soon as you go near them with a device like a phone or an iPad, they react in some way. What on earth has that got to do with anything? Well, one company, oh my goodness, I threw an iBeacon and I got a bird. Ladies and gentlemen, that's magic for you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. One company has kicked out its entire onboarding program, and instead it's put 40 iBeacons in places around the organization and in people's pockets. And when the new recruit is told that they've got to access 20 of those iBeacons over their first 2 weeks. So when they go past a place, it says, explore this, or it says, talk to this person. So they sit down and say, why am I talking to you? Well, I happen to be the X. Do you think onboarding is more interesting being set a task to discover 20 iBeacons, or sitting in a lecture with HR saying, your pension entitlements are, after 10 years service, you will get, until you wished passionately and fervently that you'd never joined that wretched company 2 days ago. What is the most exciting? Can you do this stuff? Yes, you can. How much do these cost? $4 or something. They cost nothing. And I thought, but the problem is they're swines to program. It's really difficult. And then I saw this. Thank you, Google. They've just released Eddystone, which is a piece of software to program iBeacons, costs nothing, dead cheap, dead easy, and a revolution. So you get VR with my little 360-degree Spericam, and we get iBeacons with Google's Eddystone. Came out this week. So these kinds of technologies are revolutionary, exciting, and motivate people. They motivate people. You could stick, if you had all your new recruits and you stuck an iBeacon in their pocket so they could meet each other. If we'd have given you all an iBeacon a card and you went past and, or phone, tap, 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 this is the person to talk to. You begin to see a world of exploration and discovery and excitement and learning. It's really important, and it's not in any shape or form science fiction or, it's all right for him. This is stuff that you can make use of. And I think you should be at least exploring it and seeing we could use that. I don't think we're ready for that yet, but we may be in 6 months' time. This is The Economist in March. The Economist, by 2020, 80% of adults in the world will have a supercomputer in their pocket. What is the supercomputer? Smartphone. It is changing the world. This is the device that's made the impact, not the personal computer. The supercomputer is penetrating every corner of this earth. And in India, where hardly anybody can afford to spend a fortune on an iPhone, they've got Indian companies who make phones, apparently. In China, they've got clones, copies of iPhones, which apparently work okay for $100. Where there's a market, there will be a way. And why would you bother doing all of this? Why would the iPhone be Apple's by far most successful product? Because people want them, because there's a demand, and because people love them. And all of you have got smartphones, supercomputers in your pocket, and yet learning seems to be the one laggard in the use of your iPhone. And it should be right there, not necessarily, again, reading screens, but accessing material, chatting, building networks, communicating, exploring. You know, for goodness sake, if they can put Tinder and Grindr up, which tell you unbelievably awful details about people in the near vicinity, which is so embarrassing, you really wouldn't want to know them. I have never met anyone, well, maybe I have. I've never talked to anyone who claims that they've got a Tinder or Grindr account. You know, we can use exactly the same technology for stuff that's a little bit more what would you say, life enhancing, or maybe it is life, but a little more positive and helpful in your intellectual growth as opposed to any other kind of growth. This stuff is very simple and people love it. People love it. And it's just, again, it's just proximity, location stuff. How many of you develop software that uses those location abilities? You're near this, you're near that person, you're near this piece of expertise. You tell me I'm wrong. Not much stuff that I've found. And this little thing here has actually got an NFC chip in it. So as you move around, in theory, in the world, as it moves around device, the screen can change according to its location. I don't think those have got that in. I've never used it, and I don't know what, I don't seen anyone done it, but it's got an NFC chip in a piece of cardboard to change the world. So don't forget, this is a massive transformation of the world through the smartphone. Massive transformation. And it's led by popular demand. It's not led by companies forcing it down your throat, by corporations saying, I insist you use your smartphone every single minute of every day. It's quite the opposite. You can't do Facebook, you can't do this, you can't do that, switch it off. What happens when they do that? People have two phones in their pocket. They have some crappy Samsung device which is 5 years old, which they do all their work, or even worse, a BlackBerry, and in their other pocket they've got the phone they really want. And do you think that when a company bans you from using Facebook, it stops you using Facebook? No, I don't think so. And how many people here work for companies that ban Facebook and Twitter? 1, 2, 3. Usually it's half. So I'm glad. It's a total futile waste of time, because unless the company is kind of locked in a vacuum that seals out cellular connectivity, no one will take any notice. Guess what? Are you better getting them to use that intelligently so you can monitor it and track it, or are you best pretending it doesn't exist? You tell me. You tell me. I'm going to stop in a second because I'm overrunning my promise to give you a break. This stuff is unstoppable. It's the second machine age. We cannot manage without it increasingly, apart from somehow we manage without it in the thing that is most important in this VUCA world, and that's learning. Learning is what will save us. Learning is what will save every single employer in this room. Learning is what will enable us to transform ourselves. Learning is what will keep us on top of it all. Nothing else will do that. And therefore, in some ways, you are the heroes, the pioneers, the people who will get us through this amazing change in the world. And you'll get us through by making your learning as good as or better than everything else we experience. Not as worse or second class or dreary or boring, but as really amazing and exciting and awe-inspiring, as many of the things that we do on all our collected devices do. This is the age of E or I learning, or whatever you want to call it. This is definitely it. And the reason why everyone isn't saying this is because the general experience of the general public is not good. The feeling is, it's boring. I do it because I have to. And yet they go back home and they want to fix their fridge. What do? They Google YouTube. Guess what? They want to learn about something. They go to a TED Talk. There's this massive stuff out there. They look on iTunes U. And yet inside the organization, we create it all from scratch. We're crazy. You should be curating as well as creating. Curate the experience. The problem people have is not they can't find stuff, it's because they find too much. And yet what do? You create a world of scarcity, you package it in a little box and say, this is what you need to read. Someone's interpretation of something brilliant which isn't as good. And guess what? It's not such a great experience. Whereas sending someone to a TED Talk can be a great experience. But once upon a time, I could watch every TED Talk that came out. They only released a few a week, and they would tell you, we got a new TED Talk. We go, oh, good, I'll watch it. Now, how many are there? Thousands and thousands and thousands. I can't keep up in any shape or form. Which ones do I go to? People tell me, did you see this? Have a look at that. You can do that. Look at this one. Have a look at that. Answer these questions. Think about that issue. Share it with your friends. How do we learn outside in the real world? We learn through Google and YouTube and Twitter and networking and talking and discussing. How do we learn inside the organization? Focused on a screen, sitting down all on our own, just digesting someone else's stuff. Okay, it is time for a break. So if you'd like, you can stand up if you like, if you rather stretch your legs, but on your table, is there anything that resonates in what I've said? Or do you think I'm a complete and utter idiot who doesn't know what he's talking about? So just anything that resonates, please just spend a few minutes. Yeah, it should do. I'll set an alarm. Hey Siri, can you set an alarm at 9:50? Thank you. My Apple phone will tell me. I just talked to it. Okay. Excuse me. All right. I'll pick up some of these comments when I stop in 10 minutes. So I'll leave the last 10 minutes for you to ask questions. But I want to move on to another technology, MOOCs, Massive Open Line Online Courses, which have provoked whole loads of other versions, spooks, SPOCs, small private online programs, and so on and so forth. MOOC is not a thing anymore. It's a sort of phenomenon. And massive can really also be messy. Many MOOCs are not organized. They're not sophisticated. Sometimes they're terrible. Sometimes they're absolutely brilliant. But the point is, they create an environment where people can meet together and share learning and ideas. And the best ones, increasingly, are the ones that include a community and allow people to discuss and talk to each other. Coursera has something called Coursera in London, and virtually all of their big Coursera courses, they have meeting groups in London where people get together and discuss them. It's amazing, and not just London, but all over the world, probably in Auckland. So the idea that you have to do highly sophisticated, brilliantly instructional designed, expensive, slow development processes to build courses which will attract relatively small numbers. It's completely blown on its head. MOOCs are not great learning in the ideal sense of the word or in the purest sense of the term. They're messy, confused, badly organized, stuff thrown together kind of learning. But often it's the right learning with the right people, and you learn stuff. Is there anyone, well, how many people have done a MOOC? Yeah, pretty much over half. You've been enrolled, you've never finished one. Yeah. And in some ways, it doesn't really matter. What they found is if you do 10% of a MOOC, you're way more likely to complete than if you only, in the first, most of the dropout comes very early on. And when you finish one, it's quite satisfying. And you don't have to finish them. There's stuff that you can get and then you can move on. And the key thing is that they are accessible. They are driven by the user. No one is ordered to take a MOOC, in my knowledge, and yet 40, 50, 60,000 people enroll. You know, I teach at University of Pennsylvania, which is where I was last week on a doctoral program, and Penn was one of the early adopters of MOOCs. And they have something called ModPo, which is Modern American Poetry. 45,000 people doing a program that is the same as the one that is taught in Penn, which is an Ivy League university with eye-watering fees, who take on a very small elite group, exactly the same program 45,000 people can do for nothing. And guess what? The lessons of the MOOC have changed the course that they deliver face-to-face, not the other way around. So the resources that have come across, that people have suggested, the discussions that have come out of it, those unprivileged undergraduates get the benefits of the MOOC. And for the 45,000 people, it's been run 4 times, so that's 200,000 people. In Penn, 80 people or 100 people. It's amazing. It's amazing. And everyone you talk to who's run a MOOC says, it's changed the way I teach forever. They are better face-to-face lecturers. My daughter did the accountancy one at Penn. The guy who does it is a lovely guy who did it because he just thought it might be interesting. He's run it, he gets 60,000 people. My daughter's got the certificate. She paid the $20 to get a proper certificate to say that she passed all the assignments. And he says, everything I do now in the classroom, he lectures, it's an MBA. Again, it's an MBA, first year MBA program at Penn. Fees for the MBA program at Penn, $120,000 a year. MOOC, 0. There's something amazing going on. Think about it. Games. Gaming is going to be huge. Now, games as well. My acronym is Great Activities That Make E-Learning Successful. Games. Gamification. When I get my congratulations, you've stood up for 12 minutes a day, and I feel great about it, it's not really very much of a big deal, but I'm being gamified. When I get my statement from British Airways, from their executive club saying, congratulations, you've got another tier points this month, I'm being gamified. Why do people get so passionate about air miles? Not because they're going to spend them. It's impossible to spend the damn thing. It's a game. They're into the game. Gamification works. And we don't put enough of it into the kinds of things we do. And the next thing, and this would probably be pretty much the last thing I want to talk about, the brain. We need to learn the lessons of neuroscience, and we need to build it into online as well as into face-to-face. And we need to unlearn the crap that is masquerading as neuroscience and see the truth from the fiction. The brain is not a muscle. It is nothing like a muscle. It's a terrible metaphor. We don't use 30% of our brain and we've got 70% left. It's crap, rubbish. And all those schools who've invested in brain gym, where the kids all stand up and rub their stomachs or whatever it is, they pat their chests in the morning and they do exercises to connect the 2 hemispheres of the brain. This company has made tens of millions of dollars without one single iota of research that says it works, and a whole load of peer-reviewed papers saying it's junk. Don't believe the junk. 75% of teachers in the UK believe that learning styles enhance the children's learning. If If you give them the right learning package to their learning style, they learn better. Rubbish. Give me one piece of evidence that shows that's true. It sounds good. It's rubbish. What motivates people to learn is the quality of the learning, whether they want to learn. It's got nothing to do with whether it's on kinesthetic or whatever it might be, visual or anything else. It's got nothing to do with effective learning. It's nice to know your learning style, but that's not going to change your life. I promise you that. And the idea that, oh, I'm visual, I only look at pictures, I can't read any words, how stupid is that? No one's going to believe that nonsense. And all that balderdash around, we only remember 10% of what we hear, but 20% of what we see. It's rubbish. It was refuted as rubbish 30 years ago. And still, people stand at conferences, not this conference. They stand at conferences and trot it out as if it's true. We discredit our profession by toting around utter rubbish. It's not, none of that is true. Look for the evidence. Look for the evidence. Check out the evidence. People will easily expose themselves. I was at a conference in Australia, I made myself very unpopular. This woman was running a session saying, we actually have 3 brains. We have a brain here, and a brain here, and a brain in our stomach. That's why we feel things in our heart, and we get gut reactions, because we have 3 brains. And so I stopped her and said, where's your evidence? And she produced this book, which was called something like Human Beings, the 3-brained, the 3-brain, and I read through it. It is true, we have neurons in our hearts and in our stomach. Thank God we have neurons. Can you imagine if you had to consciously process up here, breathing and digestion, really complex things that keep us alive? No, we have neurons that do it for us. We don't have to worry. It's not conscious or rational. They just manage the digestion system, and they manage the breathing and our heart. And there are something like 90 million neurons in our heart and maybe 120 in our stomach. Guess how many we have in our brain? 100 billion. 100 billion, 90 million, 120 million. We have 3 brains. Utterly rubbish. Don't fall for it. Ask for the evidence. Check the evidence. Because there's some publication, free publication. The Neuroscience of Learning. A panel of the best. Oh, that's my alarm going off on my phone, telling me it's 10:02. I'm going to stop in 2 seconds. These 5 things we do know. Exercise works for the brain. Sorry, stop. Exercise makes a huge difference to the brain. We know now that exercise prevents us or stops the onset of dementia or stops it, so it prevents it, delays the onset. My goodness, my words are not very good. It delays the onset of dementia. We know that. There are people in America saying that dementia could be a lifestyle disease, like type 2 diabetes. In other words, we choose to lead a particular life and we end up destroying our brain as a result. What is the best thing that prevents dementia? Active, plastic, neural brain. How do we get that? Learning. Learning. The worst thing you can do in a company is to your over 50-year-old say, take it easy, it's okay. You're going to be retiring soon. No, you just do the same job. It's okay. Don't stress yourself. Rubbish, bad, wrong, terrible neuroscience. Your 50-year-old should be stretched, stressed, given stuff to do, challenged, exciting their brain so that when they retire, they keep active. Sitting in a chair all day is terrible. Sitting in a chair when you retire is disastrous. And this stuff is very, very serious. Exercise leads to better neural performance. Learning maintains neural plasticity throughout life. And there's this amazing picture in the States from this doctor in the Osher Center in San Francisco, University of California, San Francisco, UCSF, 2 brains with advanced Alzheimer's. You can see the plaques, those terrible knots in the brain which stop it working. 2 75-year-old men, equal advanced Alzheimer's, one person performing normally, the other in a home not knowing what his name is. How can that be? Neural plasticity. One brain has worked around all the difficulties, the other brain has just crunched into it. It's absolutely vital. We need reflection. How much e-learning builds in reflection? We need emotional engagement to learn. This myth that the brain, learning is prefrontal cortex, rational. No, it isn't. The whole brain is involved in learning. When people are learning most intensely, the whole brain is lit up. It's amazing. Learning is critical to the whole brain. It needs emotions. It needs a great environment, physical as well as online. And we have to recognize that the aging brain is not worse, it's different. The aging brain can access stuff that young brains can't, like experience. We don't draw enough on the strengths of the aging brain. We just say, oh, you can't remember names, you're going downhill. Who cares? You know, we can, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot more that our brains can do when we're a trifle older. Some of you, when you get to, I'm looking forward to being 40. I'll be there and I'll remember it. But some of you, when you get past 40, it's good for your brain to be past 40. It's not terrible for your brain. The brain isn't in a sort of a decline like this. It's rubbish. And then just last slide, I think. Last slide, then I go to the end. These three things that are really important. This is how people learn. Relaxed alertness, low threat, high challenge. Fear does not encourage learning. I knew that as a child when I was beaten relentlessly at school. Thank God my children, it was illegal by the time my children went to school. That was how you learned. If you got something wrong, you were beaten. And guess what? You got it wrong again. So you were beaten again. I don't know how anyone thought that that was a great way of learning. Immersion of the learner in multiple, complex, authentic experiences, not dull, boring words on a page. Active processing for making meaning. That's from Kane and Kane. Neuroscience research. All this stuff works. Guaranteed, and you should be picking it. You should be using it. So, last slide, really. In Japan, I took a picture of this. I just love this. I thought, what a guy, eh? He buys his new car, drives home, gets it in the garage, and doesn't fit. Does he worry? Does he get depressed? Does he stomp? No, he just puts it as much as he can in the garage. He pulls down the door and he goes home, very proud that at least 3/4 of his car's in the garage. I thought, what a guy. It's the smallest car in the world anyway. It's a little Suzuki. So his garage is the size of a handkerchief. This is us, really. Let's just make do with what we've got. We can still be proud of what we do. It can still be exciting. We don't have to have the perfect car or the perfect garage to be happy in life, like this guy. So thank you. Thank you very much. We've still got time for a few questions. Thank you. And buy my book. The wonderful distributors in Sydney refused to send them over to New Zealand, so I had to cart the damn things right across in a backpack. So I will be very, very depressed if I have to cart them all home again. You've let me down badly. So it's available at Bloom Recruit. And the 3 game changers in this part 3, game changers, technology, neuroscience, big data. They're going to change learning forever. So sorry, Clinton, I've overrun a little bit. Thank you. Or comments? Does anyone think I'm an idiot? I'm completely wrong.
Comments. Now's your opportunity.
What did you talk about on your table? Come on, you did talk about something. Not all that bumbling and noise was not people going, I don't know what to say. So, tell me, yes, go on. Yes, should have been more. So what do you want, is there a question or a statement? Go on. What do I think of big data? I think 3 things. The first one is that we focus too much on the data we generate. For example, the data coming off LMSs. That's not big data. I think that what we should be doing is looking at the data that organizations generate. That's big data. And I think we should be using that data to reveal areas where learning could be focused. So I think that one of the things that you have to do inside an organization is align with the data streams. Second point, big data needs to go outside the organization. If you go to Westpac Bank, Yes, Westpac Bank in Melbourne. Is it? No, headquarters in Melbourne. What headquarters are in Docklands? Which bank has got their headquarters in Docklands? It's not ANZ. NAB, thank you very much, Con. NAB. If you go into NAB, on the ground floor by the Learning Centre is their social media room. It's a room covered in massive screens, tracking every single media comment that is made out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on anything, Instagram. And that data is then shared instantly around the bank. Every week, 3 people from a department come in and sit there to learn and go back and share the information. The learning people are there all the time. It is unbelievably clear where the bank is missing out on doing the right thing with its customers or even with its staff. And it's using that as vital data for learning. Vital data for learning. That's where big data is really interesting. It's engaging with all of the data streams that organizations are managing, not saying we must develop another few issues around the LMS. That is going to tell you a little. I think there's a lot you can learn from big data. Thank you. Any other? Yes?
Time for one more if we've got it.
One more? One more comment from a table. What did you talk about in the middle? Yeah. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's on Kindle. It is indeed. And it's on iBooks. It's on iBooks as well. Most of my books are electronic books. Problem is that this is interesting. My publisher, I have my own book on a Kindle. I had to buy it. Full price. I said, well, can't you give me some sort of credit or some code? Now Amazon control the whole thing. And Amazon notify the publisher once every 6 months of sales. So, you know, they're really at Amazon's mercy. So the publishers say, never ever put Amazon on your website. Put our logo, put our links, tell people to buy it direct from the publisher. So there's still a war going on between Amazon and the orthodox publishers. But could I live without ebooks? No way. No way. I couldn't. I just couldn't. Anything else? Stop. Clinton?
Ladies and gentlemen, Nigel Payne.
Thank you, Clinton. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. I'll grab my stuff.
Five of clubs. I thought I would have prompted the... No, they didn't. Maybe their Apple phone told them not to. Thank you very much, Nigel, for sharing the global learning trends in technology. Absolutely fascinating, I'm sure you'll agree. It is morning tea time. It's time to visit our sponsors at the rear of the room and to answer the 4 questions that will lead to a prize for you. Also, the other competitions are there to be entered as well, and lots of discussion to be had. There's 45 minutes for us to do that. Find your twin. Also, Nigel's book, The Learning Challenge. Now, you might be able to get it electronically, but you won't be able to get the signature of the man himself here today on the physical copy. So there's no replacement for that electronically, as I understand it. And if you do want it to get top dollar at your garage sale, you'll want the authentic signature on it. Have a great morning tea.